Hi, welcome back. Or if you're just joining, my name is Maya, and welcome to my channel, Cranleyplace, where I'm posting content on scarf style, knot tutorials, and more. In this video, I'll discuss a 90cm silk twill from Hermès's Fall-Winter 2023 collection called Cavalier En Formes by Gianpaolo Pagni. I'll start with some background about the technique this artist has become known for, at least in his Hermès scarves, namely stamping, look at the Cubist design inspiration behind the scarf, and then take a deep dive into one of the available colorways to talk about color pairing possibilities. Let's get started. Gianpaolo Pagni is known for his use of stamping in Hermès scarves, not only to reimagine older designs, but of course also to create his own concepts. So I wanted to spend a few minutes first talking about stamping as an art form, which has its origins deeply rooted in both practical and cultural aspects of human history. The practice of stamping, of course, involves applying ink or dye to a carved or engraved surface, typically made of wood, rubber, or other materials, and then pressing it onto a substrate like paper or silk in this case to create an impression. This technique has been used for various purposes throughout different civilizations and time periods. For example, the origins of stamping as an art can be traced back to ancient civilizations such as Egypt, Mesopotamia, and China. These cultures used stamps for practical purposes like marking documents, clay tablets, and textiles. The earliest known stamps were cylindrical seals used in ancient Mesopotamia, where they were rolled onto clay to create impressions. China played a significant role in the development of stamping as an artistic practice. Chinese artists and craftsmen began using stamps to create intricate designs on textiles and ceramics. These stamps, known as chops or seals, were often made of jade, stone, or wood, and were engraved with these intricate patterns, characters, and symbols. Chinese seals were not only used for decorative purposes, but also had important cultural and bureaucratic significance. In Japan, stamping evolved into a refined art form known as woodblock printing or ukiyo-e. This technique involved carving intricate designs into wooden blocks, which were then inked and pressed onto paper to create detailed prints. These types of prints became highly popular during the Edo period from the 17th and 19th century and had a significant influence on Western art. In Europe, stamping and printing gained prominence with the invention of the movable type and the printing press by Johannes Gutenberg in the 15th century. While movable type printing involved arranging individual characters, the concept of stamping remained important in the creation of woodcuts and engraved illustrations for books and other printed materials. Stamping also became an essential technique in decorative arts, especially during the arts and crafts movement during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Craftsmen and artists used stamps to create unique designs on furniture, textiles, and other household items. The modern rubber stamp as we know it today originated in the late 19th century when James Orton Woodruff patented the first rubber stamp in 1893, which made it easier to create intricate and repeatable designs. This invention led to the widespread use of rubber stamps in various applications, from crafting and scrapbooking to official document marking. And then in contemporary art, stamping continues to be a popular technique used by artists to create unique patterns, textures, and designs. Artists often carve their own stamps from various materials, enabling them to incorporate personalized elements into their work. So we can see that stamping as an art has evolved over time, drawing inspiration from various cultures and historical contexts. From its practical origins in ancient civilizations to its role in decorative arts and contemporary aesthetic expression, stamping remains a versatile and creative technique that bridges both the functional and the aesthetic realms. The centerpiece of this scarf is the horse rider, which, as noted in the name, is represented in cubist form, leaving it to the viewer to interpret as he or she may. Cubism was an influential art movement that began around 1907 in France. It was pioneered by artists Pablo Picasso and Georges Braque. They are often credited with laying down the foundation for this revolutionary style of art. Cubism became known for its radical approach to representing reality. Instead of traditional perspectives and single viewpoints, Cubist artists depicted objects from multiple angles and viewpoints in a single composition. This shattered and reassembled approach aimed to capture the essence of the subject in a more complex and dynamic manner. Cubism as an art can be divided into two main phases, analytical and synthetic. The analytical phase, roughly from 1908 to 1912, involved breaking down objects into geometric shapes and analyzing their forms from multiple angles. The synthetic phase, from 1912 to 1919, introduced collage techniques, incorporating real-world materials like newspaper clippings and fabric into artworks. Interestingly, the development of Cubism was influenced heavily by non-Western art, including African masks and Iberian sculpture. Picasso, in particular, was inspired by the bold geometric shapes and abstraction present in these art forms. If you look closely, Cubist artworks often feature faceted forms, overlapping planes, and geometric shapes. This approach created a sense of depth and volume on a two-dimensional canvas, challenging the notions of representation. Cubism also shifted art's focus from directly representing reality to interpreting it. Instead of trying to mimic the outward appearance of objects, Cubist artists aimed to convey the underlying structure and essence of the object. Picasso and Braque had a close artistic collaboration during the early years of Cubism. Their works from this period are often difficult to distinguish as they both explored similar themes and techniques. Cubism's influence also extended beyond visual art. It had an impact on literature, music, and even fashion. The fractured perspectives and multidimensional viewpoints of Cubism influenced writers like Gertrude Stein and composers like Igor Stravinsky. Finally, the legacy of Cubism can be seen today in various art movements that followed, such as Futurism, Constructivism, and even Abstract Expressionism. The principles of breaking down art forms and exploring multiple perspectives continue to influence art even today. Now let's take a look at one of the colorways to consider color pairing possibilities. For this, I'll use the Bleu Ciel, Rouge, and Multicolor colorway. The primary and secondary colors used for the rider, for me anyways, would be enough to steer me away to another colorway, but my guess is that this could probably pair with anything in some unexpected ways. So, are you down for the challenge? Let's start with the colors we see. Red, sky blue, also there's a darker blue there, more of a cobalt, yellow, green, orange, pink, gray, black, and white. So if we start with just the colors in the scarf name, the first two, sky blue and red. The complementary opposite of blue on the color wheel is orange, which we also see in the scarf. You can also look at adjacent colors. That means greens and purples. There is some green in the scarf already, so you'd have to try it with purples to see if you like it. We'll experiment to see if we can make that work. Primary colors, blue, red, yellow, always surprisingly pair well together. You may or may not like wearing them, but they work. Then we can do the same thing with red. Its complementary opposite on the color wheel is green, which is also in the scarf. Adjacent colors to red include orange and purple. There's already orange in the scarf, which we know will work again with both the blue and the red. And again, while we don't directly see purple, there is pink, which if you add more blue, guess what? You get purple. Gray, black, and white tones in the scarf are the neutral gimmies that will go with anything. And in this case, the white even looks a bit creamy, which is a nice contrast to the starkness of the primary colors. So let's look at a few examples to see how the scarf pairs with the colors we've discussed. So there you have it, some background on this scarf from the Fall-Winter 2023 collection by Hermès, and my thoughts on color pairing possibilities. Please like and share the video if you enjoyed it, and let me know what you think in the comments. In future episodes, I'll share other scarf reviews, tutorials, and more, so be sure to hit that subscribe button to be notified of new videos. Thanks again for joining me today. Until next time!